All right, everybody, welcome back to the Fly Brother Radio Show. We have our wonderful Amanda Powers here, who is going to be talking about transformational travel, her experience on the Camino de Santiago in Spain, and about how she just wants everyone to have a Camino experience themselves, a journey. So, Amanda, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Ernest, so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Of course, of course. And so I think we can just start off with the idea of a camino as a journey. For people who don't know, camino kind of means road. It actually literally does mean road in Spanish. However, it has many other connotations when it comes to like the Camino de Santiago, other caminos around the world. And certainly when we look at it as an example, as a metaphor for life. And so, Amanda, please tell us what the Camino means to you.
Yes, so Ernest, oh gosh, the Camino means so many things to me. I guess about a year ago, around this time, I didn't actually even know what a Camino was, but I learned pretty quickly. I actually was traveling in Switzerland, and I met a gal there who had done the Camino a year before. And so we got to talking, and she told me about her experience. And I immediately was hooked and interested. And I couldn't believe I had never heard of a Camino. But a Camino it means a lot of things, whether it could be a spiritual journey, religious journey for someone, a physical journey for someone,
Hmm.
someone that just has these physical goals that they really want to see if they can reach the amount of miles that they'd like to complete on a Camino, or it's just personal growth that they would like to be able to achieve with the Camino. So there's a lot of different directions that someone can go for choosing a Camino. I guess mine was kind of a couple different directions. Mine was personal growth. Um, I I needed a change in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was not that I was unhappy, but I just was feeling unfulfilled and feeling like I'm missing something in my life. So I wanted to take this journey to slow down a bit from my hectic, crazy life and be
Hmm.
able to really reflect on what I wanted, and what truly I wanted to do with the rest of my life. So that, and also it does, I think, go hand in hand. I also did it for religious and spiritual reasons too. So it's kind of a combination of things. And I would actually say physical too. I actually wanted to see if I could do it.
Hmm. Hmm. Well,
So
so many different layers, multi-layered here.
I absolutely. And you know what? I think sometimes maybe people even think they do it for a specific reason in the planning part of it and thinking
Hmm.
I'm going to do it for this reason. And then they're on it and things may shift a little bit, and
Mm.
they may start thinking some different things that as they're walking that may come out of it. So yeah, you never know. One of the biggest things I learned on a Camino was stop expecting uh, in life. Things can always change. And I think if you just embrace the moment and live in the present, you're going to enjoy life more so. And if you take the pressure of expectation out of it, I think you're going to get a lot more out of your life. So,
Mm-hmm. Wow. So a lot to touch on and to circle back on, which I'm excited to do. First, then, would you tell us what the Camino is in a literal sense? And I know we gave a definition and we talked about it, but in this case, you took a trip to Spain.
yeah.
And it's got a very specific kind of definition. So if you could tell us about that particular aspect of the experience, the trip part
Yeah,
and what it involved for you.
absolutely. So the Camino is basically a 500-mile walk in
Hmm.
Spain.
I
And
will walk 500 miles. They wrote a song about. Sorry.
Well, that's the thing. I think what go back to the can I even do this? And
Mm.
your body can surprise you. That's for sure.
Hmm.
So the Camino actually it originated back in the 11th century, and pilgrims, as they were called, would walk a Camino um, from their own churches, from where they resided. And so that's why there's multiple routes of the Camino in Spain. There's
Hmm.
9 famous routes, but honestly, there's even more than that. But there's 9 specific ones that are really well
Hmm.
known.
And this is
One,
all the Camino de Santiago.
all
This
the
is all under
Camino.
that name. Okay,
Yes,
just so we're clear for audience members.
yes,
Perfect.
that is a
Please.
great point because,
Thank you.
as we both know, there's Caminos all over the world. But
Hmm.
the most, I guess, the most famous ones, I would say, more
Sure,
so,
sure.
are the ones that started in Spain. Particularly the Camino Francés. That is the most
Mm.
well known out of all the Caminos. So it's a 500-mile walk that you start in one of these beginning parts of Spain or Portugal, actually too,
Okay.
um, and it all ends at the cathedral in Santiago, the Santiago de Compostela. And why it ends there is because there is a legend of St. James the Apostle. They say that his remains are buried in the cathedral there. And it was how the story goes is that his remains were found. They were brought in from a boat to northern Spain and by angels. And then they were taken to a place in Galicia, Spain, and then that is where they built the cathedral. So
Hmm.
his remains are there, and pilgrims walk to there to be able to receive salvation, forgiveness of their sins, and as many of the other reasons that we were told. But back in the 11th century, that's how the whole thing started.
Okay.
And since then, there's been so many pilgrims that have made the walk. It kind of it filtered out like in the I would say the 50s, and then it came back like wildfire in the 90s, and it has grown and grown and grown from I believe in the 90s, it was like 100,000 pilgrims were walking in a year. And now I just
Wow.
actually read this stat. I was so excited to hear this. It's just as of right now, this year, and the year's not over yet. People are still walking Camino right now. It's over 400,000 pilgrims that have completed it in
Wow.
2023. And so that's the most ever so far. So it is gaining speed, and I can't even wait to see what next year is going to be.
That's a lot of people
I
on the
know.
Camino.
Yes.
And did you were obviously 400,000 people weren't there at the same time as you,
Right.
but did you find it to be relatively crowded or busy, if nothing else, when you were on this trip?
That is such a great question, because people get very afraid of that. Like you hear so
Mm.
many people in the forums that are talking about how busy it is going to be. Is there going to be a place to sleep? I started the Camino towards the end of May, and then went through the month of June. Um, I the Camino I did was actually not the most popular one. It was
Mhm.
the Camino del Norte, and that's on basically goes through the northern coast of Spain. And it was, to tell you the truth, when I began it I would sometimes go for miles and not see anyone.
Mm.
Um, and so I felt like I really had some solo time that, I just got to, there's so many things you're thinking about. And as you're going on this walk and you realize I haven't seen anyone for hours. But then like towards the end, it started getting a little bit busier. The
Okay.
last 100 kilometers is where a couple of the Camino routes come together. And so you're meeting people from the Primitivo, from the Francais, and so that's when it starts getting crowded. But it's okay because you have this excitement in the air. Like everyone knows they're getting so close to Santiago and they've all been walking for so long. And it's just like everyone's in such a great mood and they're just so, excited to get to the end. It's sad, it's bittersweet, but it's an exciting feeling. So I never had a problem finding room anywhere. I was fortunate, but they say the Camino provides. So I took
El
that to
camino
heart.
proviene.
Yes.
Please continue. Sorry, that's just
Oh,
yeah, it's a deep
yeah.
thought. I
It,
mean, again, it can be extrapolated to refer to life in general, you know.
exactly.
So,
Yeah. I think some of my times when I got stressed or was worried, you, you know, it was there a restaurant ahead, but I needed a coffee, or you're just
one
really,
appeared.
yeah, yes. And I will tell you, side note, Staines Coffee, it was, oh gosh, what was the name? Can Cafe con Leche. That's what, Cafe con Leche.
Hmm.
Oh, my favorite coffee in the world. It was so good. I miss it so much. Um, but when you were, there's just times that it's an emotional walk. You're going through just whether it's physical, something going on, maybe your body's not feeling great that day, maybe you have a
Hmm.
blister, hopefully not,
Hmm.
but maybe, or you just sometimes you're mentally just kind of maybe just I don't know, it's a lot on you that day. All of a sudden, like something the Camino provides, like you'd meet someone and would totally change your mindset of the day, or you'd come across that cafe that you maybe it was a Sunday and you thought everything was going to be closed. This was a true experience. It was pouring down rain and I was like,
Hmm.
I haven't, there's not like I'm walking through mud, and all of a sudden, because I thought, most cafes are closed on Sunday there. And then here comes this beautiful cafe around the corner. And I saw pilgrims sitting outside drinking a coffee, and it just was like, so
Hmm.
Camino provides. I truly believe that.
Oh, that's amazing. And so then were you kind of walking along a trail, along the roadway, both, a mixture? What's the experience like?
Mm. Yeah, I did not know what to expect with that.
Hmm.
It's a mix. I had a mix on the Del Norte, but from the other Caminos I've read, it's very similar type of experience. It's going to be a mix. A lot of times, I could be in the woods on a path in the forest, or I could be on basically a cliff looking over the coast at surfers coming in
Hmm.
on the beach. These magnificent beaches there were there. And then other times I was walking on a major highway. And I
Right.
had to be very aware of my surroundings. It wasn't ever too long on a major highway, but they try to veer you off the highway
Sure. To
and get
keep
you
it
on the.
safe. Hmm.
But there's just sometimes there's just no other option. So you play it smart, you be safe, and you just go with the flow. Like you just don't. You never know what's going to happen. Sometimes you're walking up a mountain and
Hmm.
you're like, I don't know how I'm going to get up this mountain. And I remember it was in the beginning. I was like a day that was so tough, and I was talking to a pilgrim later that day, and he had done many Caminos in his life, and he just said, you know, what I think when I'm going up one of those huge hills or mountains, I would call them, one one step at a time, just one step
Hmm.
at a time. Like don't really look up. Like just think, just one step at a time. And I he was that helped me. Like that little advice, I started thinking that for the rest of my days when I was really at some tough inclines. And I just kind of was like that was my mantra in my head when I was
Hmm.
doing things like that. So it's amazing how people can help you through
Wow.
things.
Well, can you talk about that? That sounds amazing. Again, it seems like everything you refer to in this conversation up to now has its parallel in real life, and vice versa. When you find yourself approaching a daunting task or experience. You know, it's like you can only be now. So like it's every little step is the now that you know where you are.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, so then when it comes to like a day, I know every day would be different. I wouldn't say there was a typical day, but could you
Mhm.
describe one day that was quite memorable for you?
Mm. Oh gosh. Yes. Let's see. There's a lot of them.
Okay.
But I would say, okay, I remember one. This was one of my favorite days I remember. And it wasn't as much, and this is, I'm glad we're going this route because it wasn't as much the path that day. That was actually one of the more not as fun paths that day. I remember it was really hot and a lot of industrial parts. So it was just like, I remember that there's one part, it was so flat and it was like way in the sun and I was exhausted. But
Mm.
so I think I had about maybe 5 miles left. It was one of my bigger days. I think I almost walked 25 miles that day. It was one of my longer days. I usually didn't try to walk that long. I was long. So I had 5 miles left for the town I was going, and I was out of water. And I finally got
Mm.
into like this restaurant that I was turning the corner, and it came up, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need water. And finally, like it was so hot. So I go in, and there's all these people enjoying their lunches, having a glass of wine, and here I
Clearly not walking on the Camino. Yeah, we drove.
am,
We
and
drove here.
right, they're enjoying their nice afternoon with their families or their significant other, whichever.
Mm.
And so here I come, like I'm sweating, my hair's a mess, and I don't care what I look like, I just need water. So
Hmm.
I go up, and I go to the bar area. And there's a guy in front of me, of course, and like he's having a nice little conversation with the server, and they're really, just, and they're being very nice. But at the same time, in my head, I'm like, can I please get water soon? Like
Yes,
I just
yes.
want to get water and then get on my way. So anyway, so he leaves, and then it takes her probably maybe, gosh, a good couple minutes, because it was busy, a couple minutes to get back to me. And when she heard like all I wanted was water, because that is a neat thing over there. Like they will fill your water bottle up for you, so you won't have to pay for a water bottle,
Oh, okay.
which is kind of nice. It's very
Hmm.
nice to them. So she did that, and I'm very thankful. And I get my stuff together and I leave. And then the guy that was in front of me, he was a little bit ahead of me, and I realized he's a pilgrim, and I'm like, man, that pilgrim, he has this huge backpack on. I mean, it was the biggest backpack I had seen on
Hmm.
my route. So I finally, I mean, there's no way he's going fast. Like that's, I mean, he had, it was a trek for the guy. So I come up on him and we start chatting. I think he started it first. And I realized he's from Paris, and we just, I asked him, how his Camino's going. He asked me mine, and I'm like, and one of the main things you say over there when you meet someone, oh, where did you start from? And so it's always nice to be like, well, I started from the beginning, right? So, like I'm in it from the get go, because not everyone does that. Some people just go for a week, which is totally fine. It's their Camino. Sometimes, it's hard to get a lot of time off work anyway to do the whole thing. So he goes, oh, I've been walking from Paris, and I stop and I'm like, what? You're walking from Paris? What do you mean? And he's like, yeah, I just started walking from Paris, and then I got to Spain, and and I said, and you're going to Santiago? And he was like, yes, I'm definitely stopping in Santiago, and then I'm continuing on to Portugal to my grandparents' house. And for me, that I kind of maybe was feeling a little bit sorry for myself that day because it was so hot and I was a little like, this wasn't the greatest day of walking. And it was tired. Um, I was like, okay, Amanda,
Perspective.
perspective. And then on top of this, because his backpack was so large, he was not staying places. He was camping every night
Hmm.
since
Okay.
Paris, and the whole time. And I just was blown away. And so we walked a good bit longer together, and he just, I will never forget him. He just was
Mm,
like just this pure, amazing, just person, individual that was so, you could just tell he, has had this amazing perspective on life. And he didn't feel like, he kind of thought it was very normal that he was camping. And
mhm.
and I was like, well, how do you take showers? And he was like, well, in the ocean. And
Okay.
he was like, I said, well, what's some of the toughest parts? And he's like, well, when it really rains, it's just a little bit harder to pack up in the morning.
Mhm.
So I just was like, just really taken aback by him. And I just loved my conversation with him. And then later, I think 2 weeks later, we ran into each other again and we got to talk again. And I never forget him. And I think where I was going with this is that it's not just the path. It's definitely not just the path. It's the people that you're meeting
Mhm.
along the way. Like that is, I just had some of my most deepest conversations with absolute strangers. Um, on the Camino. Like, I mean, it's deeper conversations that I have sometimes with friends back home. It's, you really get back to the root of things. And, why you're on this pilgrimage, or
Mm.
maybe trying to figure out why. Like I think we all help each other along the way. So long answer there, but I think that was probably one of my favorite days meeting him. It's never, I won't ever forget that.
That's amazing. We're all just walking each other home. I got that from someone
Yeah,
very dear to me many years ago, and haven't forgotten it. So
I like
yes,
that.
I understand that as well. Wow, you're absolutely right. It is the people that you meet, and that's kind of the theme of Fly Brother all these years has been friendship and connection. It's the folks that are just out in the world wanting the same things that we all want, to be seen, to be empowered, and to be loved. And so, it's really amazing when you're able to have these kinds of connections with people who you may never see again. Now, the beauty in the times that we're living in right now is twofold. One, we've got ease of accessibility and travel the way that was just impossible generations ago. But also now we have the technology to stay in contact with some of these amazing people that we cross paths with. Whereas, when I started traveling, postcards.
Right?
Unless you really wanted to invest in a phone card to talk to somebody
Yeah.
long distance. So now, they're in our phones. And that's an amazing thing as well, that you're creating lifelong memories and connections.
Yeah. It is amazing. And whether, and even to the point of like with social media, how you can follow them along, whatever
Hmm.
where their lives are taking them. So
Yes.
yeah, it's incredible what we have available to us today. Then we have to appreciate it more. That from where think how far we've come to this time.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I've got a set of questions I'm going to ask you in pairs
Okay.
because I also want to make sure that we find out how we can engage more with our own caminos. How long did it take you to do the 500 miles, and
Mhm.
what was the preparation required?
Ooh, yes. So it took me 29 days.
Hmm.
But I for me, I kind of had a specific goal. I could have slowed down a little bit, and I probably will on my next Camino.
Oh,
Um,
you're already ready for
oh
the
yeah,
next one,
oh
huh?
no doubt, one every year or maybe two. Like
Hmm.
once you're in, it's like you're addicted. And I
Mm.
never understood it until you get. I mean, most of the people I met, it was like their third, fourth, fifth Camino.
Mm,
It was
amazing.
so yeah, so it took me 29 days, but I think typically, maybe again, sometimes I push myself maybe a little bit too much. It can take anywhere from 30 to 35 days, typically, and then it depends. You don't have to walk that whole 500 miles. You can do, as I mentioned earlier, you can do a week of it. You could do 2 weeks of it. Sometimes people spread it out that, each year they come back and do a specific portion of it or segment of it to get eventually to Santiago. So many different ways. And again, your Camino for how
Mm.
you approach it. Oh, and then getting ready. Oh,
Hmm.
that's the tough part. Preparing. My biggest advice on that, you don't need all that in your backpack. You don't. There's no,
Mm.
nope, take it out. So,
Okay.
um, it's,
Pack half the clothes and twice the money. Is that it?
yeah, I packed way too much. I will be so much smarter on my next one, and I'm happy to help others learn on their Camino, because
Hmm.
yeah, you really should only be carrying about 10 to 15% of your body weight. So,
Hmm.
for me, I'm a little bit smaller. I had this huge backpack that I just, I don't know what I was thinking.
That
So,
you'd need all those things is what you were thinking.
my
You were
goodness.
preparing for, you were over preparing.
Oh,
And that's not a judgment. That's again a reflection of how often we show up in life,
mm,
needlessly worried about things, kind of thinking we want to problem solve on the front end.
yeah.
And it's like, that wasn't even required. All that wasn't even required. Bless
I
our hearts.
know. So wow, that's a really good point. Relates really well to life. And yes, I, yeah, if I packed way too many shoes, way too many pants, way too many socks. What you need is you need two pairs of pants. I know it's crazy to think about it, but
Mm-hmm.
you really don't need that much. So two pairs of pants, a couple pairs of underwear, two shirts, maybe one extra shirt to wear in the evening, so you can get out of like your regular Camino. Like you can actually like feel like, not, you can go out to dinner with
Sure,
that
sure.
hiking shirt on.
Not and not look
Um,
like a complete bush dweller.
right,
Yes.
exactly. And then, really try to like, don't makeup. I brought makeup. I don't know why I did. I think after the second
Going
day,
to Europe. You were going to Europe.
when so that quickly went out the door, but it was weight. I had all this extra weight, and it was
Mm.
so silly. So, and remember too, the big thing is laundry. So, like if you're wearing all these different articles of clothing, then you're going to have this huge laundry bag eventually that you're going to have to find a laundromat for, and
Mm.
which is difficult. And then a lot of places, like they may have a washer machine, they do not have a dryer machine. Which is pretty cool over Spain. Like it gets so warm, you can just hang your clothes out on the line and then they'll be dry the next morning. But when you have a ton of clothes to dry, it's a pain in the neck. So there's just,
Hmm.
you have those two pants, you wear them that day, you wash them that night, you wear your other pair the next day, and you just
Hmm.
rotate. It's all about
Hmm.
rotation, and that it's all you need, because you get so uncomfortable when you have a lot of weight that you're carrying, and you're just not going to be happy with yourself in the long
Mm.
run. So
Sure.
I really
Oh, wow.
recommend packing light.
All right. Excellent. Great points. Then continuing on the path, the camino, the planning. I was going to say planificación, but I realized we need to stick to English. Um, did you know Spanish before going? Is that required? And what kind of other preparation did you do? Like finding hotels or bed and breakfasts or whatever in advance, or did you just kind of play it by ear, or a mix of both?
Yeah. So, let's start with the hotel part of it. I would say I did a little bit of a mix. There, I did hotels, I did inns, I also did albergues.
Mm,
And I liked having the mix. Some people are dead set on they just want to do albergues, and albergues are kind of like it's like a hostel
okay.
dorm situation, and it's great because it is a way that you can meet a lot of other pilgrims, and they do communal meals, and
Mm,
it's just a neat way to make bonds there easier. Um, But sometimes you just want your own shower.
Yes.
You want your own bed, and you just want to have like maybe just some chill out time. So I think it's important to have a balance of that. With booking those, what I would do is I would book the night before.
Mm,
And because sometimes you don't know where you're going to end up the next day.
sure.
So there's some people that plan the whole Camino before they even leave home, and they know where they're stopping in each town. That's fine. That's great. But there's some people that don't plan at all, and they just walk and see where they land that day. So that's typically how I would do, or with my planning. The only thing I would say, and this is I remembered earlier today, with albergues, you have to be mindful of people that snore.
Okay.
It would, you got to get a good night's rest or walking the next day. And
Hmm.
sometimes I would have a few evenings when I would stay in an albergue where you'd have some person snoring, and it was really tough to get like sleep. So I would have my earbuds in. That helped a lot. But that was a downside of the albergue. Um,
Okay.
and then I'm so sorry, Ernst. You said, and what was the first
Oh,
question?
I'm sorry, it's Spanish. Is that
Spanish. Yes, I'm so
required?
sorry.
Yeah.
Um,
Or French if you're on the French side of the border of the
yeah,
Pyrenees. Hmm.
that's true. No, it's not required. I would say be open to learning it,
Hmm.
though. I would. I mean, you're going to go into many establishments where they don't speak English. But I think again now in the times that we're in, um, download a translator app. I use that so much,
Hmm.
because whether you needed to write an email ahead of, a lot of this is a good note for hotels and albergues inns. Um, I could book them through WhatsApp, actually. So
Hmm.
you didn't book on a website. You would find out their number, you would text them through WhatsApp, and then they would confirm you. And they didn't need pay ahead of time. You would just pay when you got there, and sometimes it had to be cash too.
Hmm.
So just
Sure.
another thought there. But yeah, you don't need to know, but it's all about, I would say in that case, preparing a little bit. Have that translator app, maybe know a few expressions. Buen camino is one of the most important, and that's
Hmm.
when you wish someone a good camino, to a pilgrim. That and you once you're on that, you'll see everyone says it all the time, like it's just constant. But it's, I don't know, it's a good feeling when you hear it. But yeah, you'll do okay. I wouldn't worry about knowing Spanish. You'll learn as you go too. You'll learn
Sure.
different phrases, so it's kind of fun.
And I'm sure also people are helpful and they know that they have visitors from around the world who are on the Camino that wouldn't necessarily know how to communicate in Spanish, but they're being very helpful. I've always found whenever I've gone to Spain that to be the case. So I'm
Yeah,
assuming we're generalizing, but I think for the most part that's pretty much standard.
agreed. No, I always felt like I was very welcomed,
Hmm.
by the Spanish community. I never felt I would, and I think this is probably a concern. And I was a female, walking
Yes, traveling by yourself.
on my own,
Please.
again, not seeing many, especially in the beginning, I would like not see anyone for a long time. I, to this day, can say out of all those days I was there, I never felt unsafe once, ever. And it's not
Hmm.
that, I can feel scared. Like I'm not,
Sure.
a person that doesn't get scared sometimes. You just have your intuition. You get a little bit scared on things if you're in a unfamiliar place. Never once. I mean, I look back at that now and it's amazing, but I always felt safe and
Mm.
welcomed, and yeah, it was pretty surreal having that feeling. Just being able to be a female, an independent female, walking with I didn't have anything on me to, I had my water bottle to be able
Yes.
to, if anything happened. But no, I felt it was really a beautiful feeling. It feels so safe, and
Mhm.
it's empowering, I think,
Mm.
for people to
Mhm.
be on their own, and think like, I got this and I can do this on my own.
Sure. And
So
that the environment supports you, will support you being there. on your own.
Exactly.
That you're
Exactly.
not really on your own in that regard.
That's true. Yeah, you're
Hmm.
right. That's very true. Yeah. I think my sister, she got worried. So I think she said she made me put some sort of tracker on my phone.
Okay,
Like if something
sure.
happened to me before, that they could find me. But, I think I forgot about that until now. I said, I better make sure it's not on. It's still on my phone. When I think about it. But yeah, I always felt safe there, and in a very beautiful country. Spain is
Mm,
just I had never been to Spain before, and I was just blown away. It was so beautiful, from the flowers and all the hydrangea bushes, which were amazing there,
hmm
and the coastline, and to the people. So yeah.
mm,
Mhm.
hmm Well, so then what do you feel was the motivating factor for you to go? Like, what called you even to doing the Camino in the first place and that particular Camino, the Camino de Santiago in Spain? Um, I know, again, I'm doubling up on the questions simply because there's so much here. It's so rich. We could go for hours. But unfortunately, we
We need to
don't
walk.
have that amount of
We need
time
to
right
walk
now.
that Camino together, Ernest.
We should, yes.
Well,
I might meet you at the. I might see you at the each endpoint with my glass. Like, hey, I'm at.
it's your Camino. So that's like
Exactly.
you never, however anyone wants to do it.
Uh huh.
I met a couple that took a cab every day. And you know what? I don't judge. Like, hey,
No, not at all. No, no shame on that. Like, you're doing it. If you got the resources, have at it.
exactly,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. So why I chose to go on the Camino. I did have, I think I said in the early on, I was feeling unfulfilled, in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I, again, wasn't unhappy in my career, but something just was missing.
Mm.
You just know it in your
Sure.
soul, like
Yes.
just something was missing in my life. So I was in the marketing field, and I decided, I took a leave of absence, and my boss was very kind to say, "Hey, sort it out. Come on back to work, and we'll get right back to the on the horse." Unfortunately, and he's still we're good. He's still, I think we have a good relationship still to this day.
Hmm.
But I really did think about it quite a bit, but I I was not going back. I just thought,
Hmm.
I you know, I told someone this while I was over there. Towards the end, I felt alive again. It's kind of hard
Hmm.
to express that, but I did. Like, I felt the colors were more vivid. My I was more awake. I was more just ready to experience the day, and I, it woke me up, and it's
Amazing.
amazing. Uh,
Hmm.
and I thought, yeah, I can't go back to the way I was living.
Mm.
Yeah,
Toothpaste
and
is out of the tube, baby.
you,
We at you.
yeah, that's right. I just,
Yeah.
I at that point, I mean, if I was going back, it was like it was all, and I don't want to say this, but it was kind of all for nothing. Like, why did
Hmm.
I do it? And so
Hmm.
I did not go back. And I decided to pursue my passion for the travel industry, and my passion now for the Camino. So I have decided, and it's open now.
Hmm.
That I opened my own travel business for specializing in walking and cycling adventures. So whether it be for individuals, solo travelers like I was, or groups, family members, or huge groups, they walking. Working with nonprofit organizations too. So, and maybe even more so from there. But that's what I have done, and I'm just loving it so far. And I feel like, when you just know, like, hey, I'm going in the right direction. I know
Yes.
I'm gonna be okay. And I have felt that since I've been back. So yeah.
That's amazing. Number one. Number two, before we, because that was a nice segue into the business side and helping other people have their own experience. You know, is some kind of religious faith or belief required, or because some people aren't necessarily attuned or aligned with that,
Right.
but they are, I think, aligned with just their own feeling of who they are in the world and wanting to be fulfilled. That's not attached to any kind of religious tradition, but the
Right.
Camino has a history of that.
Yeah.
And so is it, what about people who are not necessarily religious per se? Is there something for them?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
I honestly would say the majority of the people I met were not doing it for a religious purpose.
Hmm.
It was because they, had done the Camino before, and they wanted to get that feeling back. That feeling of that being alive, being
Mm.
uh,
Yes.
aware of everything and excited. But yeah, I think there's a lot of people that do it for religious reasons, which is awesome. But
Hmm.
y- it's really it's open to everyone. I think it's just maybe,
Yes.
you know, you get called to it almost like
Hmm.
I think, or maybe um, if you're not called to it, maybe you need to be called to it. I think, or it's something that you don't you going into it, you don't realize everything that you're going to get out of it.
Hmm.
And but you are going to get something out of it. And I think for me, it may not have at the time, I don't know if, something was completely right in my face that this is what I'm going to do now. And this is how I'm going to change my life and blah, 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 blah. But it gave me the courage to make those steps. So when I got home, I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do, but I
Hmm.
knew the Camino gave me the courage to figure it out and know that I was able to do it. So,
Love
uh,
it.
yeah, I think, yeah, anyone and it's from anywhere can do it. I mean, I actually met fewer Americans and I'm from America. I had fewer Americans on the Camino than from others around the world. I met so many amazing people. It was actually, I kind of was surprised by that because I thought I was going to see, a lot more Americans, but I did not.
Hmm.
So, which was okay because it's good to get out
Sure.
of, if you're
Your
traveling.
cultural box.
Exactly. It's
Hmm.
amazing to meet other people from different cultures. So, and you do on the Camino.
Incredible. So basically, you're saying that everybody needs a little bit of Camino in their lives. And so, how then are you providing that opportunity? How are you helping people experience their own Camino? And yeah, what's the story there?
Yes. So, I have a website that I developed, and it's findyourcamino.com.
Hmm.
So you can go to my website to find out information about some of the routes that I feature on there, whether it's walking or cycling. And also, not just the Caminos in Spain. It's Caminos that are all over the world. So there's some other ones that I'm featuring. The treks in Machu Picchu, the Inca Trail,
Hmm.
as well as the West Highland Way in Scotland, um, the St. Francis Way in Italy, and more to come
Hmm.
too. So I if there's any interest of someone that wants to even just have a discussion, maybe they're not sure, but they want to, dip their toe into thinking about, maybe making a walking or cycling trip out of their vacation. I am happy to open the door to discuss with them, have a conversation, and help guide them, answer any questions they may have, and see if it could be the right fit for them to possibly venture on into 2024 or for for maybe years ahead of time.
Hmm.
So yeah, so they can find me at findyourcamino.com, and then I also am on Instagram and Facebook as well for Find Your
At
Camino.
Find Your Camino.
Yes. Hmm.
Love it, love it, love it. Amanda Powers, thank you so much for being with us here today. I'm super stoked that you have had such a transformative experience out there on the road, literally the way, the walk, whatever words you want to, Camino does mean all those things. I have had my own experiences, not necessarily on that exact kind of a journey, but certainly other journeys. So I know what it's like to be forever changed by an experience in a different part of the world.
Hmm.
And I feel like when more people are able to do this, when more people have access to this kind of transformation, which does not require a trip or some kind of experience, but it's helpful and it's fun to have these kinds of experiences. But when you know what life can be like, what the possibilities are, there's no going back, just like you said.
Yeah.
So
It's
thank you.
it's amazing what we realize. I think it goes back, it gives you the courage to whatever the experience that you're going to do to 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 make you realize you're capable of anything. You just
Mm,
have to get out there and try.
mm, mm,
And failure isn't failing. It's just the next step to succeeding. So, yeah, I think it's been amazing to talk with you, Ernest, today. And I would love to help anyone that would be interested in speaking or just maybe running some ideas around. But, and hopefully, Ernest, I'll get you on a Camino at some point.
we can continue the conversation about that. I may be cabinet, but hey, no, she's joking. Thank you again, Amanda. Everybody, get some Camino in your lives. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Muchísimas gracias. And yeah, on to the next. Amazing.
Thank you
All
so much,
right.
Ernest.
Thanks. Ciao, ciao.
Bye bye.